Hey everybody, great to see you guys at the lead tool. We got some really exciting news, including the new name of our company, rebranding Stock Systems, which once Chase pops in here, we'll dive into a little bit more. But as always, we love hearing from you guys. So if you have questions, comments, chat to us. Feel free to check us out on all of our new handles on Twitter, Instagram, the whole nine. At Get Stock or Stock Up.
I think Get Stock and then Twitter, because fucking everyone had, Twitter's
Stock
impossible to get a handle on. We're Stock_Systems.
Stock_Systems on Twitter.
No, Danny, you can sit in for me.
I'll tell you what, come on. I think Twitter's a lot like the...
It's nice meeting you all. I walk past this.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Have a great week. Don't get screwed, get stock.
Yeah, there you go.
That's Dan Shields, one and only. Hope you making some more guest appearances here in the future. We'll get them on. But including Instagram, podcasts, same thing as before. Check us out on podcasts on iTunes.
I think that
SoundCloud.
we gotta change all that.
Which we will do.
We will be doing.
Part of the rebrand.
Everybody talks about being fucking busy.
Yeah.
I'm doing this shit. I'm hustling on my phone, building the fucking product over there with her. Don't tell me you're fucking busy.
You got 4 or 5 things going on at one time.
Don't tell me, whatever. Deals on deals, whatever. So let's talk about taking our own advice.
Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. 'Cause this is exciting shit.
I guess this is probably mostly something I need to run my mouth about, since, a lot of it was, our brainchild, really for me, but,
I'm here to MC.
So it's kind of like a long story, right? It's been kind of like a wild ride over the last couple years. I'm gonna try to put that down for a second. So we always talk about not getting romantic about the way that you do business, and it's kind of interesting too, because in our field, you hear from a lot of venture capitalists, you always want to stay focused. Read any VC's blog, any entrepreneur, for the most part, they're going to say, you got to stay focused on what you're doing, and all of that. And really kind of when we started out, there were a number of ERP systems that were on-prem, kind of like the Microsoft SQL Server running in the warehouse. Nothing was on the cloud, right? And we've been doing, Joachim and I started working on cloud stuff in 08, 09.
Yeah.
So between me and him, we've been doing, and I was doing cloud stuff before that, but he and I together have been doing that.
Dive into why cloud's so important for those guys that are watching this and just don't understand cloud versus on-prem.
Well, so cloud's really all about accessibility. It's really hard to access that SQL server that's in your, or even co-located. It's still a pain in the ass. You have to VPN in, and these are totally different systems. So that's why, and I'm going to try not to spend a lot of time on it, but that's a big reason that legacy vendors have not been able to get to the cloud, because you can't just slap
what you did before.
You can't slap a server application just on the cloud for all your customers, because running a distributed system in the cloud where you've got what's called shared multi-tenant databases, you have a totally different set of rules and security requirements. Now, I will say it's much more secure on the cloud. You're never going to be able to keep your server in your warehouse or your back office nearly as secure as it would be on Amazon within a VPC.
Or any Amazon, Google, Microsoft, you name it.
Yeah, so that's that's the boring stuff. So basically it's about accessibility. So we know that the modern consumer has changed. And hilariously, go to the Get Stock Instagram right now or our Twitter. I was having a conversation 50 minutes ago with my friend Mike, who texted me out of the blue. We were talking about shooting clays. He wants to change his gun. Anyway, he started talking to me. He saw the floor covering news piece on my LinkedIn or something that our good friends over there, Reggie, Lindsay, and everyone put out a cool little piece on us. And kind of modern, awesome. super committed to bringing their reader base like value, like and new stuff, and like not afraid to talk about new stuff. So Mike was talking to me about, you know, his experience like remodeling with Lowe's doing, and like this is a millennial homeowner, married, has a newborn, has a dog, has like a mid to high 6-figure income,
has a house.
Yeah, right. Like so everything that anyone in like the
pretty
retail,
much what you like for the next 50 years. This guy is who you're gonna be going after.
Yeah, and so he says to me, he like talks trash about Lowe's. Because he's asking me why I thought retail was kind of screwed, and then I explained who like specialty retail was in one of the sectors we operate in, and he's like, oh yeah, like I never hear of anyone going to them, and then like what I posted on Instagram was super funny. Let me pull it up, because he goes, the first thing he says is, how the fuck do you think you're not going to do e-commerce? This one's on our Twitter, and survive. That's just ludicrous, or something like that. Then he goes, he's like, me personally, I'm not walking into a store that I can't see what you have and what it costs online. And he goes, me on the phone, more likely email with the salesperson goes like this. Them, the best thing for you to do is just come in and look at what we have here. Me, absolutely not. And then he says to me, he texts me, in my opinion, when someone says the best thing for you to do is come down to the store, what they mean is the best thing for me is if you come to the store. So like, this is the customer. Right? Like, this is the modern customer, and this transcends, like...
Who's going to be buying? This is the buyer for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
This is B2C, and it's B2B, like, because these people are also contractors, they're also running construction companies, they're also running, you know, retail lumber yards. So if you're a distributor, listen to me, or concentration yard, these are going to be your customers, too. They already are. So, you know, we've seen this massive transition, like, continue to take place. And the rate of change at which customers are evolving is increasing. It's on an exponential curve. Yeah. It's not linear. So, like, we've always said, you know, that we need to build for the future, and we're super committed to not building for, like, what's working, like, today or what worked yesterday, especially. Like, we don't build stuff we don't believe in. That's why, like, you know, like, we read all the feedback we get from users. And you know, we only take feedback from paying customers. If you're talking about coming on with us, we really, you know, like,
love to have you, love to listen to you.
Until you get on, but like, we get a lot of great feedback. But like, if you want to talk to me about like building an Excel sheet, because like a curated list like that shows you how like leads go through a pipeline, I don't give a shit, because that's not the future. No. Like, that's 1996. Like, if you want to talk about,
when it was
like,
innovative, when it first came around into business,
and like we just won't build stuff we don't believe in. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that's the future. I know as a user of these products, and if I were running like our yards today, I wouldn't use that. Like, that's not how I would do it. It's not modern. No millennial wants that. I also know that like when we get feedback, you know, if it ever comes in, like email templates, automated email templates, great, awesome. Like, email worked 10 years ago. We don't believe in email templates. We know from practicing, like, again, we practice. Like, you saw me yakking on text message. That's one of our largest customers. Like, big contract. Like, text message.
Conversing through text message.
Not email. Not email. Guys older than me. We don't believe in email templates. Like, so I'm like,
especially
I'm
canned messages.
I'm not gonna sign off on a feature for our product, our sales product, to build canned messages. It's just because we do not believe in it personally or as an organization from our experience. Now, would we build like direct messaging integrations for social networks? That's where the attention is. One-on-one, and probably not on email anymore. So like, we build for what we see coming and what we know is coming, because we already know that Mike, like my friend who's on our Instagram and everything, we already know that's the buyer. Like, we know we're right, so when people are telling us and asking us to go backwards, like, we appreciate the opinion, but we're not going to do anything about that.
And it may help you today, it's not helping you tomorrow.
Right, and we're not...
Tomorrow is here.
Again, taking our own advice. You've heard us talk about building for the long term. Like, we're not talking about like flying cars here. Like, we're merely talking about like all the attention right now is on social networks, so get off email. We're not going to build, like, we've got an incredible two-way email integration in our product.
Guys.
Like, yeah, I mean, they're not. Like people
open rates are down,
like,
click-through rates are down,
but like no one cares.
Yeah.
Like and
just
like
think about the amount of emails that you're getting.
That's why like top e-commerce providers like Shopify, they're not allowing you. They don't have like an email transaction where like, hey, buy inside an email. They have buy inside Facebook Messenger, buy in your Facebook store, like link to Amazon, like actual like where the attention is. So again, like number one, that's part of taking our own advice. Like, we go where the attention is, we build what we believe in, we think long term. And as we've seen this like evolution, we really truly thought that with like there's not a ton of people operating like the LBM in flooring space that are doing, there's not like 1,000 software companies, but there's a handful of them, and we sincerely believed across the space that like, we're going to be able to integrate. Like these people are going to evolve. They're going to get off the on-prem. They're going to get off these back-end solutions where they can't even. I've had a CEO of one company tell me that they can't build an API because their database technology is some really weird stuff that's basically like what you use if you're like getting started. It's weird. I don't know how to. I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm just like, this is not, and we're not putting anyone down. State of software in building materials is that it's 20 years behind. That's a fact. That's okay. Like, but for us, it's not okay for their customers because people like Mike are not going to come to your yard or whatever unless you got product
right
online.
now you're listening to your vendors, which is good to an extent, but at the same time, if evolution isn't occurring at the pace that these consumers are ready to buy, then you're getting fucked.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too is like be careful, for some of them listening to their vendors because like there are also vendors who are looking to like cut out their retail channel, like so, and no one is too holy. Like everyone is replaceable. Like in 2017 in terms of supply chain, because like I firmly believe we're going through like basically the second industrial revolution. Like I think this is like a once every other every century, every other century event.
Yeah, we live in one of the greatest times. If you embrace it and take advantage of what's available.
Right, and so the other thing too is like, so a buddy of mine who runs a group of hardwood sawmills for a pine and hardwood group based on the West Coast. The hardwood mills are all in the eastern U.S. I'm on the phone with him talking about stuff, and this really hit me hard because this is someone that we have been doing business with for decades. Used to be with one of our biggest suppliers, and he goes, so with the sawmill, and he goes, Chase, my customers don't want to call me to order. They don't want to talk to me, and he laughs about it. He's like, isn't there a good way for me to get our stock list online? Again, going back, like, so this is a manager of, like, I think they have, like, 6 or 7 hardwood mills. He's talking about this. So manufacturing. Yeah. Like, talking about for their distributors and concentration yards to be able to buy inventory. So, like, now think about that, like, in terms of if you're buying cabinets, you're buying flooring, like to be able to buy online. Now, some of these industries you can kind of do that. Granted, it's like usually by like a super old school protocol, old school system. Yeah. So we really thought that like, oh man, we're going to be able to integrate. Well, it turns out like there really hasn't been an opportunity because there's not modern cloud-based software. And again, another benefit of the cloud is that it's a lot easier to build integrations via what's called an application programming interface. Some of you may have heard of an API.
Which is very standard in just about any industry out there
It's standard everywhere, and it has been for a really long time.
Years.
So, like, while this is new to the industry, it's definitely, like, not new to the world. So, anyway, all this stuff is going on. Like, we're being asked to provide solutions. We're actually hamstrung by, like, our customers' other vendors because like we can't help them, in our job.
We want to help so much.
We want to help, but we can't. So, we look at what's going on in the world and we're like, damn, like there hasn't been an evolution, really in a lot of this, and it's like coming back to this whole thing, building where the industry's going. I wrote a blog post about this, and it's like, depending on who you talk to, like. If we build for where the industry is, we may wind up like between a glorified spreadsheet and a legal pad, or we might wind up with an artificial intelligence powered inventory system that can tell you when you need to order what you need to order. So basically what happened is we don't talk about this a lot, but I oversaw our inventory for our old company, Charles F. Shields & Company, which Dan was president and chairman of the board, owned it.
How many years?
He was in an executive role for 35 years, but he started there in 65 as a janitor. And then he was there through 2010.
Classic family business. Pretty much
did,
any role he filled.
We did, yeah, like Gary Vaynerchuk says, the best way to be in a family business is like if you suck. Because if you suck, it's great because you reap all the benefits. And if you don't suck, it's the worst position to be in. Needless to say, Dan did not suck. He was very good at what he did. They were always innovating there. There's a whole bunch of that on our website, kind of our story about a lot of the things we've done, dropping a cat motor in a Ford F700, first abrasive planer east of the Mississippi, computer end tallying in the late 90s, whole bunch of stuff like that. I grew up working for him and was actually in an operations role. Inventory management, did some of the logistics and the trucking, oversaw the equipment, bought the equipment. So my background is actually in handling, before I was in sales, I actually handled like somewhere between, call it like $5 and $7 million of inventory, that hardwood inventory, which significantly, like in flooring, everyone talks about cloud inventory systems not being able to handle roll goods. Roll goods are a walk in the park compared to hardwood lumber. We could have lumber that was on the air drying yard that was green, and then it could be going into the kilns, it could be in the dehumidifier, it could be out of the kilns and in a warehouse, it could be getting remanufactured, so we would have to calculate waste running through the molder. So it could be in various states. So that's like all I did. Was that and the technology behind that. So we had Dan put a system in that had what they maintained less than 1% margin of error between what was in the computer system and what their physical inventory count was, which is unheard of if you've ever had to take physical inventory.
Perspective.
I know. Well, I know all the lumber people
guys
are going to get it because they have inventory on hand.
And that's hardwoods too, which is going to be a little bit more difficult than your retail yard.
Well, yeah. So that was in distribution because most retail yards aren't going to keep rough lumber.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have kilns. But yeah, I mean, it's way different than counting sheets of plywood and there's 32 feet in a sheet of plywood, generally speaking, stuff like that. So very complex stuff, and that's actually I think probably what I love personally more than sales. So we looked around, we kept having all these conversations. A lot of great talks, particularly with all of our friends that are retail dealers in LBM, our good customers, of course, across the board in furniture and flooring, and then particularly through our very good friends at the NLBMDA, whose convention you guys just got back from. That's the National Lumber and Building Materials Dealer Association. So our buddies Jonathan, the CEO, and Doug over there run an incredible shop.
Awesome guys.
Also shout out to the BMSA, Lynn Schwartz, Susie. I'll be speaking at their convention.
A lot of great people.
In February. And so we have all these conversations, and there's this glaring need for customer-facing inventory. Yeah. You've heard us, again, taking our own advice. This was really what the inspiration came from for the title of this. We talk about getting your inventory online, and in the industry, there's no solution that's capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So after looking at the crop of industry vendors and not having many options in terms of doing
integration,
that could serve
really
all of our customers, right?
We
have some fucking awesome partners in some of these industries.
Yeah.
I think in flooring, I think the Rollmaster guys are killer.
Yeah.
And it's just, but we serve this kind of the whole vertical in different parts of the supply chain. So, we talk about it, and there was no solution, and we look for partners that are not in the vertical, and it's they got piece counts, shit. If you're trying to track your inventory by volume or area, for us it was board feet, for some people it's going to be square feet, square yards, whatever it may be. There's nothing out there, and then running our trucks too. I always wanted to know, where were our trucks going? Where were there's a need for customer communication, right? Customers want to know when's the truck going to be on the site, or when's the van going to be at my house. You told a great story about someone doing routes on like a whiteboard in the morning for their deliveries. And so, again, this is all within our wheelhouse. So, rather than us being romantic about it, being like, well, we decided we're only going to do CRM, like we kind of view business is like water rushing down a mountain, and you have to adapt. Like if you watch water, it'll go over rocks, under rocks, down the side. Sun Tzu, Art of War.
Woo!
So,
bring a little Art of War into this.
So anyway, I think that's like what you got to live by, particularly in business, and particularly as it relates to this conversation. So, we looked at the landscape and we were like, well, shit, like we have an incredible system for doing all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. This was all we did for years. And so we decided we were going to build what we consider to be a complete customer experience platform, which is truly an evolution of CRM.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how Stock Systems came to be, because we couldn't be the lead tool anymore.
No.
And plus we would get hilarious questions about that. You guys sell leads? Are you the lead tool? No, none of the above.
None of the above.
So, being that we have this like 3-prong approach to customer experience, because all of our products ultimately enhance the experience. They make the transaction easier. All the shit you've heard me spout off over the last however many months or year that we've been doing this, however long it's been, like our platform is designed to do that. So, we've got a cloud-based inventory platform that's in a private beta that we're rolling out. That is going to handle, your inventory, purchase orders, sales orders, warehousing, because of course we had to track all our stuff across like 6 warehouses and God knows how many bays, and then a dry shed at the dry kilns and air drying yards. So like,
pretty much you name it, whatever's on your yard.
We know a thing or two about complex warehousing too. Yeah. So we're of course going to be layering in some of the stuff that I built when I was building predictive inventory models. So we're going to be roping that in, kind of like figure out how much you want to stock, how much you want to sell, where you low.
This inventory system is basically what you guys use.
It's our
at the
system.
time
like it's
to keep
our
1% difference between what was on the yard and what was in the system.
Yeah, because like what we had, so like there were
1%.
There were pieces of our process that didn't just involve the technology.
Yeah.
The tech was just like one part of it. This like encompasses all of it. The process, again, like our sales platform, the process is built into the platform. Right? So, like,
which is arguably just as important as the actual product itself. If not more important.
So, and, again, the inventory product, the hub around which all of these things spin is our CRM, which is becoming Stock Sales. So we wanted an easy name to remember. We wanted something that was kind of like short. We had to be able to get the .com domain, of course. So we landed on Stock. So we've got 3 products, 2 of which are rolling out. We've got the lead tool CRM becoming Stock Sales. We've got Stock Inventory, which is our inventory, warehousing, purchase order, sales order management. And again, there's a customer-facing component to that in 2 ways. Track your order. Number 1, customers will be able to track their orders. Number 2, and this is super relevant for those of you doing business to business. If you're doing commercial business, or if you're a manufacturer distributor, this is your moneymaker right here. It is the built-in visibility for your customers, product catalog, inventory, do e-commerce. It's an e-commerce platform. Your customers will actually be able to buy from you within Stock Inventory. It'll show up in Stock Sales, and you'll be able to set up a delivery route for it and put it on one of your trucks in Stock Logistics, which is our 3rd product. The route planning, notify your customers when a shipment leaves the yard or a van leaves the warehouse with the material for installation. Ultimately, with that, we're going to be doing some actually like really cool real-time tracking. If you guys have used Uber, you know exactly where we're going with that. So no one wants to get, I got a 4-hour delivery window. No. So we'll be able to provide like super accurate ETAs.
Which again goes back to your customer.
It's customer facing. Yeah. So like we build for the future. We build for your customer. Why do I know? Why do we know what that customer is because we've sold to them.
Yeah.
Like, we know. Like, we've been in the business, so, you know.
Well, it also goes back to something that one of the CEOs at Pro Sales 100 Yard was talking about at that BMDA conference. You know, they all sell commodities, right? So what makes you different, right? And this is coming back to delivering an experience that literally nobody else in the industry is providing right now.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and you know, like, why does it matter, like, you know, that our playbook's out there, no one's going to catch us? Like, I mean, I'm not even worried about that, you know, and I don't care about...
Shoot, if they try, it betters the industry.
Hey,
that's
look,
kind of
yeah,
what we're
it's
all about.
awesome because from our opinion, it's like,
Moves
look,
the industry
yeah,
forward.
it does, and like, that's the, you know, winners think about winning, losers think about winners.
Yep.
So we're just really focused on building the
Put
best
that on
products we
paper.
can. Yeah, I mean, that's literally, you know, like what we're doing. We're building the best products we can to help people run their operations.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think it's where everything is going. Our job is to build for where the industries are going, not like where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's a reason that in a couple of these industries there's just been massive attrition.
Yeah.
And you know, there's nothing that we can do about that. We're trying to help everyone know who wants to evolve.
Yeah.
And we're again super focused on bringing products that you can that can bring transparency to the process and make the transaction easier. Like, that's what this is all about.
Easier to buy from you, right? I mean, anybody that's watched pretty much any one of our previous web series here, you'll hear this term a lot, and it's about making it easier for your customers to buy from you. And that's really what this all boils down to.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, look, we could, in some of these places, we could kind of like build these less powerful systems, but we don't believe in it.
No.
You know, we got to build stuff that we believe in. We you know, it just like we're in 2017. We've got to be pushing things forward, and you know, the cool thing too is like at the end of the day, like what was so fun about really getting started on this, and the whole thing that's been the most fun about the entire process of building it is for me, for Dan, especially, it's been like, you know, we're literally just turning everything that we used to do into a cloud platform that can help everyone else. So for us, it's been just like literally translating our experience into a piece of technology. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that, because the one thing that's super...
I mean, you guys are around for over 100 years, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, and we evolved, you know? Like, we didn't stay the same. Like, go read our About Us. Like, you'll see all the stuff we did, you know, and that we're still doing. So this is kind of like just a new chapter in that. You know, and we have two really unique things going for us. There's not another technology company out there that's run by, like, actual owner-operators. And that, too, has been born in the cloud, built for the cloud, from scratch, isn't some white-labeled piece from some other industry. Like, this is the real deal. Like, I say this to you guys all the time in here, we could have, you know, we ran trucks, right? Like, we could have bought Freightliners or whatever, nothing against them. They weren't good enough for us to put our name on. We ran Peterbilts for a reason. We're not trying to be the Freightliner.
Yeah.
Like, I don't pay attention to that. Like, this is about, like, where we're going, where the industry's going, our legacy. Like, you know, this is what we've always done. This is who we are.
The best of the best.
You can always say, everyone out there says they're, like, built for the industry. You know, like, we are the industry. That's it. I mean, there's nothing more to it. So, I think it's going to be an interesting ride, but it's really been kind of like just a matter of us really drinking our own Kool-Aid. So, like, don't forget, like, we practice what we preach, you know? Like, we're hustling around the clock. We're building stuff around the clock. That's kind of just how we roll, so.
With that, one of the few plugs we'll ever do on these. If you have questions, comments, anything like that, or if you want to get on the private beta, feel free to DM us. We'd love to hear from you. If you feel like any of your peers or colleagues would benefit from this, as always, feel free to share it far and wide. Stay tuned for updates to all of our social media handles. Otherwise, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I mean, I think that's kind of it. And just to be clear too, the one thing I forgot is, like, this doesn't mean we're not going to try to integrate with everyone we can.
Yeah.
we're still going to do that.
Oh,
like, that's not
for
going to
sure.
change.
For
We're just adding to our arsenal. So thanks for lending us an ear.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Have a great day.